Being homeless is rough for anybody, but it's especially tough for an ancient vampire recently awakened from their eternal slumber. Navigating the modern world, finding enough plasma to survive, feeding off other sims, gathering more vampires to rebuild a coven, romancing innocent humans, all in the big city, without a home or a penny to our name. Will we thrive in this new modern world, or will we be burnt up by the modern society and the sun? It's finally the Burr months, so let's get spooky and cozy, grab a pumpkin spice latte, and let's watch the story of our homeless vampire in the big city. Count Crunchula! Count Crunchula! The story continues in the same neighborhood as Buster No Home. That video has become very popular recently, which is great because that video is awesome, as is this video. So thank you for watching both. We might see Buster and the gang around, and maybe we'll see them again in the future for a different video. But for now, this is the Count story. I have modelled him off of the Starion from Baldur's Gate 3 and gave him fitting traits. Irresistible, night owl, snob, brooding, and kleptomaniac. His lifetime want is the vampire one. Drink from 20 sims and convert 5 sims into vampires. But that's not the focus here. If we can get a few sims turned into vampires, great. But it's not the goal I'm going to focus on. Maybe one day we'll turn the whole town into vampires. Usually, I give my sims the same star sign as myself, Virgo, because I don't know much about star signs. But the internet has declared Astarion a Scorpio. So here he is. I did my usual thing of fencing off the house and setting the money to 0. Bridgeport is a really hilly world, so I had some issues with getting the lots flat. Off the Count went to explore the new and modern world. He didn't have a clear idea of what to do in the new big city. The bright lights confused him, so he went to somewhere familiar to ease himself in and get out of the sun. The alchemy store. This lot was a pain to place down, so I'm visiting it. After spending a few hours at the alchemy store, the Count finally headed into the big city. Specifically, the vampire bar, in hopes to meet new vampires and maybe score some plasma. Unfortunately, the Count went down in the elevator rather than up, discovering some vampire altar things that the vampires sleep in The Sims 3. Sort of. So the Count took a little nap on one of those. Soon after, the bar closed, and he went out to the alleyway behind the building. There's a grave here. I've never particularly played with vampires in The Sims 3, or any occults for that matter. I have Supernatural installed, so vampires have a few more powers than they did in Just Late Night. However, I could not tell you the difference, so had a little experiment around with the vampire powers by having the Count hunt. The alleyway is not the best place to initiate a hunt in The Sims 3, as I have no idea who the target was, and they got away. We needed to get plasma, and soon, or the Count could, well, you know, die. I'd half read that vampires can raid the hospital for plasma, and the grocery store for plasma fruit, but we didn't need that. So we headed on over to raid the hospital for precious plasma. The first time went way too easy. So we tried again. And again. Until the police showed up. And the Count was arrested.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
I'd never had a sim arrested before. Exciting. The Count spent a couple of hours in the jail, trying to make friends, but to little avail. At least we had the plasma we needed, so I decided to try another hunt. As the stakes, were much lower. This time was at a house, with only a handful of Sims living inside, so in theory, it should be easier than some random alleyway. Our target this time was one of the girls living on the top floor of the apartment building known as Hannah Smith. She was sleeping, but I woke her up. Get up! She was unfazed about the strange vampire in her bedroom. But this is the 2010s, so vampires were everywhere. The Count got to know Hannah, as I only knew how to drink blood from a Sim by getting to know them. Consent! But she wasn't interested, and once again the hunt was unsuccessful. We then tried stealing more plasma packs from the hospital and got arrested. Again. It wasn't going well for the Count's first few days in the modern world. Nothing was going the Count's way, so he headed back to the familiarity of the alchemy store, where he could work on his alchemy skill and eat a jelly bean that turned him blue.
Are you blue?
Only in color, Michael.
When night fell, the Count headed back to the vampire bar and met a fellow vampire by the name of Beau. They exchanged vampire pleasantries and went up to the top floor of the bar, only to be kicked out moments later, as the bar was now closed. It was really quite hard trying to find somewhere decent and quiet to sleep during the day without being kicked out. The gym is always a good shout in homeless challenges, as we all know, but not for a vampire. Not exactly a classy place for a nap, and it's quite loud.
Tom's a lot. Good Tom.
But with the full moon's arrival, the Count really wanted to go to the graveyard during the full moon. It also turned everything this nice but rather strange shade of purple. I like it, but I'm not really sure why. In the graveyard, we discovered this weird bar thing down here in this catacomb. There was some guy mixing drinks, and the sleeping altar thing, which vampires sleep in. Perfect for a new vampire looking for a safe and quiet place to sleep, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. And so, this became the base of operations. The Count had become a real socialite in the few days he'd been in the city, and was invited to his first party. Parties are the best way to make friends in The Sims Free. There were lots of Sims there at this party to make friends with, including 4-star celebrity Tom Wordy. If you've seen my Big City Homeless Challenge, you'll know that Tom Wordy is partner with Buster NoHo. Tom Wordy was our ticket to meeting a blessed celebrity, Buster. However, he was still a 4-star celebrity and was not interested in talking to a nobody, like the Count. I had an idea. After we stole Hannah's lounger chair, the Count went back to the graveyard to get ready for Betty. Ready for a brand new day. The idea would take effect soon, but first, it was time for something I'd always wanted to do in these videos, but I never get round to it. To get this into motion, we had to go to the house of the girl we met in the alleyway, Lily Beau. We'd actually gone to see Beau. Apparently they live in the same apartment, but he wasn't in at the time. We slowly got to know her, gradually building up our relationship more and more, until... we tried for a baby together. Soon after, we immediately headed to Hannah's house to do the exact same thing. I always want to do this in The Sims 3. I don't know why. Sims are really tough to get to know in The Sims 3, so infidelity is even tougher. So I always like the challenge of trying to woohoo with as many Sims as possible. I wanted to turn these poor girls into vampires, but that proved even tougher than infidelity. Especially now as they were pregnant. Making friends in The Sims is difficult. Even more so with celebrities. And I really wanted to be friends with Tom Wordy. Impressing him was not going to work. No money, no skills, no celebrity friends. We had nothing. Except the Count's alchemy skill. So, We headed to the alchemy shop and studied the alchemy book until the Count learnt the Jar of Friendship. The Count made 2 vials of the friendship potion and headed to the Bling household to throw it at Tom, or even Buster. Neither were home, but Lil Bling was, and happily let the Count inside. So we got to know Lil Bling instead. Can never have too many celebrity friends. The days were fairly normal from then on. Sleeping in the catacombs, showering at the gym, stealing plasma from the hospital, getting arrested for stealing plasma from the hospital. Nothing eventful. I'd even forgotten about the pregnant girls. Oh my god, she named her baby Bambi! Lily Bo named her baby Bambi. Lily Bo has a sister named Flo Flo. They have such great names. I wish I could find Flo Flo, but I never found Flo Flo. Soon after, Hannah called, saying she'd had twins named Luke and Lakeisha. Cute names, but not as good as Bambi. The Count went over to greet his new daughter, to establish who his favourite was. Rumours spread that the Count had had a child out of wedlock. They were true, but the Count still denied these rumours. A few days went by, and Lilybo's household held a Halloween party. Lo and behold, Tom Wordy was there. It was time to throw the friendship potion at him and become instant friends. The Count was now a celebrity and spent his days heading back and forth to the Bling house to turn Tom into a vampire. Or even Buster. None of these things happened. I have no idea where Buster was. I knew he was in the world. He was in our relationship tab. And Tom could not be turned into a vampire because he was already a spellcaster. Half the darn town was an occult. Darn you, supernatural expansion pack. In between these visits to the Bling household and varying parties, celebrities, and fellow socialites were throwing in the city, the Count had his eye on 3 more ladies to be in his coven/baby-making ring. Elsbeth Cook, a lady we met at a party Tom and the gang threw whilst the Count was visiting. He wasn't invited, he was just in the house. Jessica Talon, a cool vampire who lives in the city. She actually invited the Count to a party, and who had roommates who had a very difficult bed situation. And couldn't read a room. And finally, Deirdre Littler, a lady who visited the crypt bar, so obviously she wanted to be a vampire. Why else would she be there? The Count wooed all these women and got all of them pregnant. Jessica was already a vampire, so she didn't need to be turned. But the Count turned Deirdre down in the catacombs. I completely forgot about this. And Sims can't get pregnant during the vampire change stage. And I could not work out why she wasn't getting pregnant. Then she turned into a vampire on a visit there, and I worked it out. Once she was a vampire, I then got her pregnant. And at some stage, I turned Hannah into a vampire. However, the Count now had the manipulator reputation around town because of all the people he was flirting with around town. All of this whilst rising up the celebrity rank. His reputation meant his image was being tarnished. I'm surprised his reputation was being damaged by all the womanizing he did, and not for all the arrests he got from stealing from the hospital. Enough was enough. The Count went to the courthouse at 1 AM to sue them for slander. He won his case. Jessica had her baby and named him Trevor. The favourite had already been established, especially as I got Louie's name wrong earlier, so we never visited Trevor either. A sim I wasn't expecting to turn into a vampire was Lil Bling, just randomly at one of the trips to his house. Now we had 3 sims in our coven. I kept checking up on the kids in the family tree to see if they'd aged up, but they hadn't. So I headed over to see Bambi to check up on her and age her up using a birthday cake I'd bought from the store. But her mother was stuck in a wall. So I wasn't able to go in, as nobody was home. So the Count went off to go dancing and came back later when somebody was home. Deidre had her baby. Her name was June. Not as good as Bambi. After some dancing, the Count went back to check on Bambi now that somebody was home and spotted something in the snow. It was Bambi! I had always planned to have her move in, and maybe the other babies, I hadn't decided. So now was a better time than ever. Sure, we were a homeless vampire, which isn't a great environment for a child, but a mother stuck in the wall and a baby in the snow is even worse. Using a few cheats, I added Bambi to the household and aged her up into a toddler. Vampire father and vampire daughter, together for eternity, at last. The other kids can join later maybe, I don't know. So this challenge wasn't quite a year, but rescuing Bambi seemed like the perfect place to stop. Plus, these year ones take so long. I'm thinking of doing a 100-day challenge of one of these things soon. Ugh, that'll be long, but look forward to that. I enjoyed mixing things up with vampires and a shorter playtime. I want to keep mixing things up at the moment. Maybe with some casual gameplay. Either with this brand new vampire family, the no homes, or even a brand new family altogether. Or even a whole new game. The world is our lobster. These videos do take a long time, but I appreciate all your patience. Honestly, it depends how much time I have outside of my unfortunate day job. It also depends what kind of video it is. Hearing all your feedback and love keeps me going though, and I appreciate you. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you're new and like the video to keep these good vibes going. As always for now, I have to go build a Lego Slowpoke. Goodbye!